together all in one place for you to enjoy.
It's whatever kind of adventure we want it to be.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/team up.
Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
I'm Sharon Tazwell. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. One of the busiest travel weeks of the year underway as millions gear up for the Thanksgiving holiday. AAA predicts over 81 million people will travel at least 50 miles from home. This year's domestic travel forecast includes an additional 1.6 million travelers compared to last Thanksgiving, setting a new overall record. Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia says she is resigning from Congress in January. Greene, who was once a loyal supporter of President Trump, had a recent falling out in a public feud. The Congresswoman has criticized Trump's foreign policy focus, among other things. In a statement to social media, Greene says she will not endure a, quote, hateful primary against her by President Trump. Well, President Trump touting a productive meeting Friday with the mayor-elect of New York City, Zohran Mamdani. The president says the two discussed affordability in the city and congratulated the Democratic Socialists for winning the election. Mamdani says he will welcome support from the president, adding he's looking to help those struggling to pay rent.
What I really appreciate about the president is that the meeting that we had focused not on places of disagreement, which there are many, and also focused on the shared purpose that we have in serving New Yorkers.
And that is a look at your Spectrum News in 90.
Meteorologist Alan Auglis here with a look at your weather on the ones. A few showers in the east overnight and early on Saturday. The desert southwest, rain and also snow in the high elevations of the Four Corners for Sunday. And meanwhile, we're talking about record warmth for the southeast to kick off the weekend. I'll have that Thanksgiving week forecast coming up with your weather on the ones this half hour.
Welcome to The Big Deal. I'm Errol Lewis, national political anchor at Spectrum News. This program focuses on the future of our country and its people. And this week, the big deal is passage of a new law that requires the Justice Department to release files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Both chambers of Congress all but unanimously voted to approve the legislation, a stunning reversal after the White House and the Republican majority in Congress spent months delaying action on the measure. The Justice Department now has until December 19th to make all the files public, but the bill includes significant exceptions, which we'll talk about in just a minute. First, here's what the president said about Jeffrey Epstein earlier this week.
I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I turned out to be right.
No hiding, no game playing, no covering up. Pressure to make sure the documents are released in their entirety and not warped by a corrupt DOJ, who's hell-bent on hiding the truth, bending the law, and protecting Trump.
Overall, I mean, the bill has passed, Congress has spoken, and we did what was necessary. I hope it brings comfort to the victims and the survivors.
Joining me now with more are two top political analysts. Holly Gregory is a political anchor for Spectrum Bay News 9 in Tampa, Florida. Josh Robin is Spectrum News chief national political reporter, and he joins me here in studio. And Josh, we should note that President Trump has ordered an investigation into Democrats who might have known Jeffrey Epstein. There are concerns, of course, that the Trump administration might use this new investigation as an excuse to maybe delay the disclosure of information. Explain how that would work. It's almost like kind of a loophole.
It is. I should say that the legislation that has, well, now the law says that that information can be withheld if it might jeopardize any ongoing prosecutions or investigations. Two quotes that I wanted to read you on this. The first from the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, because she's the one who has the last say on this. And she says, quote, "We will continue to follow the law with maximum transparency while protecting victims." Not really saying much, but nonetheless putting her on the record. But then another one from Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was a former ally of the president, now a sharp critic of him, and has been very much involved in the release of these files. She says, quote, "Will the Department of Justice release the files, or will it all remain tied up in investigations?" So a short answer to your question, Errol, is we do not know at this hour how much of the information actually will be released.
Okay, and then Holly, meanwhile, the president drew some pushback for ramping up his insults towards journalists, especially women journalists. He told one woman who asked about the Epstein files, quote, "Quiet piggy." And then he went after another woman reporter on Tuesday who asked some tough questions during his meeting with Saudi Arabia's crown prince. I imagine you have dealt with politicians who use those kind of insults to just kind of avoid answering questions. What's the right professional way to handle that kind of a situation?
That's a tough one, but yeah, you know, news is a tough business. You got to have a thick skin, or you're going to have a hard time. But look, I'm not excusing the things that Trump said here. I don't like when he's rude like that, but he's certainly just as rude to men. I don't think it's just women, and we're not shrieking violets here. We're not going to just fade away and get scared by it or something. So, over the course of my 25 years in this business, absolutely, politicians of every stripe, even other journalists, have said things that they shouldn't have. Everything from calling me names, or I once had a boss tell me, your job is to look good while your co-anchor does the news. I mean, it happens. You have to deal with it. And I have no problem defending myself and, throwing that back when it's necessary. And other times, maybe it's a more implicit kind of bias, so you can show a little bit of grace. Can be more of a teaching moment. But what the president said with the calling the woman piggy, that was damaging. And you saw there was a social media response from his supporters trying to say, no, he was talking to a totally different reporter. Her name was Peggy. But that's not what the White House spokesperson said when she was asked about this. She tried to defend it. There is no defense for it. It's rude. As far as the ABC reporter at the White House, I mean, he's got his gripes with ABC. And he could voice those. He's got $15 million from them for their false reporting against him. Something like 90% of network reporting is anti-Trump. So he has a real grievance there that he can air, and he does it to both men and women. But calling her a terrible person, is that really necessary? I think it's beneath the presidency, and there is no excuse for it. But just like the men who have to deal with it, we've got thick skin. We're just
okay.
Fine.
Well, I'm glad you're here, and that those people who tried to stop you are not, right? Josh, on Truth Social, the president accused a handful of Democrats of being traitors and presenting seditious behavior, I guess was the phrase he used. He was reacting to this video where a bunch of military veterans who are now political leaders were urging folks in the military not to follow illegal orders, reminding them that they are allowed to refuse to follow illegal orders. The president went on to say that his Democratic critics did things that are punishable by death. What has been the reaction to this in Washington?
Well, I should say, obviously the reaction has been very strong, particularly for those people who were the ones who initially released the video. The president did clarify today in a radio interview that he's not threatening death. It was a reflection, the words of the old days, but nonetheless, he did say that those individuals, those lawmakers, are in serious trouble, and he said that he believes that the defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, is investigating. As for the response, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, says that he wouldn't have used the same language, and he believes that lawmakers and public officials, public figures from all sides need to tone down the rhetoric. As for Democrats, obviously they're very concerned, chief among them those who are now reportedly getting more police protection. I should say that the senator, Alyssa Slotkin from Michigan, who really was the one spearheading this, it seems, a former intelligence CIA officer, she says that she will not be intimidated, Errol.
Okay. And then, Holly, I've got to ask you a local question out of Florida. The Trump administration administration has announced plans for some new oil drilling off the coast of California and off the coast of Florida. The president wants to expand U.S. oil production, and your Republican governor, Ron DeSantis, is not exactly on board with it. Why is that?
Oh, absolutely not. In fact, he was just in our area today. We talked to him about it, very much against this. And Errol, in this state, there is not much at all that unites Republicans and Democrats. But one thing that they have always been able to agree on in this state over the years is they do not want drilling anywhere near our shores. So Trump now looking to go against the moratorium on that was in place. We got some rumblings that this was going to happen a couple of days before it did. And the pushback started then, even among his staunchest supporters, like Senator Rick Scott. And once it came out that that is indeed the plan, this is now on the books to drill closer to our shores, the full court press against that came out fast and furious. And it was from all sides, including his biggest supporters, saying, please, Mr. President, reconsider this. The risk to Florida's wildlife and economy are simply not worth it. We've seen what can happen. Please reconsider. So they're trying to get him to do that, and the governor reiterated that today. This is deeply unpopular with all parties here in Florida.
Okay, another story for us to follow. Thanks very much, Holly. Great talking with you as well, Josh. We're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll talk about President Trump lifting some tariffs on food products in an effort to lower prices. That's next on The Big Deal.
Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Spectrum TV, isn't that only live TV?
No, it's only all my favorite streaming apps with live TV.
Okay.
It's only all included at no extra cost, and that's the magic of math. Will this be on the test? Sure, why not?
It's only one simple payment for all our TV. We gotta simplify and win. Winning is equally important.
If not, more so.
Yeah!
Only Spectrum TV, fixed TV.
Being a cowboy, well, I don't know anything different. I had a very successful career. Life was fast. I was preparing physically. I wasn't doing anything mentally. And then I got hurt. I dug into mental health. I wanted to be better as a person. I start my day with a workout. I live life 8 seconds at a time. Find a place to stop and just breathe. Love your mind.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
Back with The Big Deal. As concerns grow over affordability, which has been hurting American households, President Trump has begun to end some tariffs on food in a bid to lower prices. Last week, the administration eliminated taxes on more than 200 imported food products, including staples like tomatoes and bananas. This week, more tariffs were lifted, including on Brazilian beef and coffee. Now, these exemptions mark a sharp reversal of the president's economic policy. Spectrum News reporter Katie Strait has more in this report.
Outside the King Center in Atlanta, a line of cars sneaks around the block. People waiting patiently for a bag of free groceries at this Thanksgiving food drive.
This is going to make a tremendous difference.
Ms. Williams works part-time but says it's still not enough to keep food on the table. And it's not just the holiday meal she's worried about.
It's every day. It's tonight. I need dinner for tonight.
Her struggle echoes what food banks across the country are seeing as the price of food continues to climb.
We've seen an increased need. We've seen seniors coming that need assistance. We've seen families.
The recent government shutdown only made things harder, with millions of SNAP recipients missing benefits and hundreds of thousands of federal workers without paychecks. And on top of that, rising food costs are making every trip to the grocery store feel a little heavier on the wallet.
But for many families, they're still struggling to put food on their table and keep that roof over their heads.
The latest consumer price index shows average grocery prices are up nearly 3% from last year. And some of your Thanksgiving favorites are part of that jump. Potatoes, meats, fresh vegetables, and bakery items all costing more. I spoke with the CEO of Butterball, who says turkey prices will be less this year. But the Department of Agriculture tells a different story, saying that a wholesale turkey is up by 40% over 2024. Tariffs have also pushed up the price of imports, including wine, up 5 to 12% at some stores. But there is a bright spot. President Donald Trump signed an executive order retroactively lowering tariffs on several agricultural imports, including beef, tomatoes, coffee, and bananas. A move the White House says could help ease some of those grocery costs. Katie Strait, Spectrum News.
Joining me now to talk more about all of this is Caleb Silver. He is editor-in-chief of Investopedia, the global financial media website. Good to see you, Caleb. Thanks for coming in. Now, the president has continuously said that foreign countries are paying the tariffs, but that's really not how it works, right? I mean, American companies have to pay the tax, and that's what a tariff is, before the ships can even dock and offload their goods, and that gets passed on to consumers. That's at least partly why the price of food is so high, right?
That's right. As soon as it hits that port, that's when the companies start paying the tariffs. And even with some of these tariffs being rolled back or lowered, a lot of goods are what we call the middle mile right now. They're in warehouses. They came into this country before the rollbacks of those tariffs, so they came in at a higher price. Now retailers have to decide to pass on those prices to us or eat them themselves. So far, some of them, like Walmart, have said, we'll eat them ourselves for now, but at some point in time, this may become too much for our margins.
Very interesting. So now ground beef is up 13%, steak prices are up 17%. How soon can Americans expect to start seeing lower prices as a result of the lower tariffs?
Well, because of a lot of this food coming in and sitting in warehouses for a week, a couple of weeks, you're not going to see it right away. You're probably not going to even see it in the next 3 to 4 weeks. It takes time to move its way through the supply chain. And remember this, the effective tariff rate right now for the U.S. against other countries is still 18%. That kind of makes it difficult along different routes of the supply chain where costs are being picked up, whether that's for oil, whether that's for transport. So food prices are impacted by a lot of factors, not just the actual price that you're paying the wholesaler when you import it from another country. It's going to take a while for those costs to come down. And in some cases, tariffs had nothing to do with it. Remember eggs and the egg prices, that had everything to do with the avian flu. Coffee prices, while they're still subject to tariffs from Brazil and other countries, that's because of a coffee shortage around the world. So some of this is just good old-fashioned supply and demand.
Oh, yeah. In fact, let me ask you about the coffee. I mean, coffee prices are up nearly 20% over the last year, according to the Consumer Price Index. What was the rationale for putting tariffs on it, taxes on it in the first place? I mean, outside of, I think, Hawaii and Puerto Rico, we don't grow coffee here in the United States, right? I thought the rationale was to try and put American producers on an even playing field with foreign producers.
Yeah, we have a problem in that we don't have the right, exactly equatorial lines to grow great coffee in this country, except for mushroom coffee, and nobody really likes that at the end of the day. So coffee, most of it comes imported from Brazil and from South America. We get some from Sumatra, obviously. We get some from Jamaica and other places, and Europe, and that's where we have also big coffee tariff increases in the last several months. So we don't grow it here. It's not an industry you can suddenly snap your fingers and start manufacturing coffee in the United States. That was impacted by tariffs for sure, but it's also impacted by coffee shortages around the world due to drought.
How are businesses that provide food being impacted by all of this?
Yeah, well, I mentioned Walmart. it's the biggest grocery retailer. It's also the biggest retailer, period. But it has said so far that it will hold the line on prices as long as it can until its gross margins cannot support it anymore. So far, so good in terms of Walmart, and it's attracted a lot of wealthier customers in to buy groceries there. But other companies like a Hunt's Tomato or McCormick Spice, you're familiar with their products, they've said the impact of tariffs could be in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Whether or not they pass that on to consumers really is about price elasticity. The cure for high inflation, as you know, is high inflation. Once we hit a certain price point, consumers say, I don't need to buy that anymore. I'll go with a cheaper version, or I'll go with the store brand version.
Well, is that true in among the purveyors who supply the restaurants? Is this going to affect sort of nightlife and restaurants and tourism all throughout the economy?
It has already. Talk to any of the great restaurants around New York City, or the sommeliers or the chefs, and they say their product prices are higher. Wine prices are obviously higher. They need to mark those up. So you've seen food away from home, which is how the consumer price index is classified, where when we eat out, those prices have increased a little bit more than food at home, but both continue to go up, and that's put a lot of pressure on Americans' pocketbooks.
All right. Thanks very much, Caleb. Great explanation. We are not done just yet. Stay with us, because when we come back, we'll talk about the restructuring of the U.S. Department of Education and President Trump's plan to shut down that agency altogether. Stay with The Big Deal.
The stories that touch our border affect us all. That's why at Spectrum News Plus, we don't just cover these communities. Our dedicated reporting team also calls them home. That perspective allows us to take an in-depth look, going beyond the politics, to see the impact on people's lives and what it means for you and your community. Balanced border coverage that tells the full story here on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
It's only a game. It's only a little rivalry. It's only a ritual. When I come home and a few generations. You're always there. And only Spectrum TV includes all your favorite streaming apps with live TV at no extra cost. It's only a game. It's only everything.
What are you doing in there?
I wouldn't do that. What are you doing? What are you looking for?
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard.
At first we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
You're watching The Big Deal. President Trump's pledge to shut down the Department of Education has entered a new phase. The department is breaking off several of its offices and moving its functions to other federal agencies, including the Department of Labor, Health and Human Services, the State Department, and the Department of the Interior. And this is all being done without the approval of Congress. Spectrum News caught up with Education Secretary Linda McMahon earlier this week, and she's defending that restructuring.
We know that once these programs are in the agencies, we have proof of concept, they are clearly working, that we will then talk to Congress at that point, because those programs, in order to move them permanently to an agency, requires congressional approval.
Joining me now to talk more about this is Erica Meltzer, a national editor at Chalkbeat, where she covers education policy. And Ms. Meltzer, critics are arguing that all of this is illegal, that the Trump administration can't just transfer programs to other agencies without congressional approval. Are they right about that?
This is a complicated issue. The administration is citing an existing law that lets one department contract for services with another. This is far beyond what I think that law actually envisioned, and I fully anticipate there will be legal challenges, and we'll have to see how those pan out.
Okay, I want to play another part of Spectrum News' interview with the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. Listen to this.
The states themselves are responsible for the education within that state. Some states are going to do a better job than others. There'll be more block grants that will be coming for federal funds to those states. And the performance in those states will be what will help dictate how those block grants then are distributed in those states. But we will look to governors. We'll look to state education superintendents and the chiefs in those states to make sure that they're spending that money wisely. And we are going to be counting on the states to do that. And as I said, some are going to do it better than others, but we.
So now critics are suspicious that all of this is a roundabout way of actually cutting federal funds that would otherwise go to local school systems. What do you think about that?
That is certainly a concern that was heightened this summer when there was an abrupt funding freeze of congressionally approved dollars. The administration is saying that there won't be a funding cut, but they've also proposed in their budget cutting a whole bunch of programs going forward. This particular move, they're simultaneously saying that it's going to be more efficient, that it's going to show that we can dismantle the department, but they're also saying nothing will change. And it's a little hard to square those things.
Okay, and then something I know affects a lot of our viewers. Federal student loans are a $1.6 trillion portfolio that affects nearly 43 million borrowers. What's going to happen to student loans if the Department of Education transfers management, say, to the Treasury Department?
That is something that a lot of people are concerned about. There are obviously a lot of changes going forward with the student loan program regardless. And I think there will also be probably legal challenges around that as well, but it's very hard to say right now.
So, I mean, look, generally speaking, the superintendent of a relatively small school district that might have tried to work with their state and tap into some federal funding, it sounds like those avenues are going to just be closed from now on.
What a lot of superintendents are saying is that they have really valued the expertise that people at the education department have to help them know, can I spend money on this? What is the best program to use to solve this problem? They're very concerned about those things going away, and they're just really hoping that there isn't actually that much change and that this is largely symbolic.
Okay, we will keep an eye on this, and I know you'll do the same over at Chalkbeat. Thanks very much, Erica Meltzer.
Thanks for having me.
And we thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. Stay tuned to your local Spectrum station.
Friday nights, The Big Deal with Errol Lewis, where Spectrum News' local political journalists break down the most important issues shaping our nation.
Here's the deal. People need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
It's only a slice. It's only made possible by Spectrum, connecting businesses of all sizes, like small businesses, instantly serving up orders and inventory on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network. And factories, seamlessly connecting to farmers in the field with tailored solutions that always deliver. It's only a slice, it's only everything. Get your business free fiber-powered internet forever. Call to find out how.
Weather can be beautiful, inconvenient, and at times powerful. And it affects everything we do. At Spectrum News Plus, our weather experts update you with the information and the context you need so you can better plan your day. And we do it every 10 minutes. We're the calm in the storm. Weather on the Ones on Spectrum News Plus, exclusively on Spectrum. And get your weather anytime on the Spectrum News app. Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app.